And with that, maybe we can open it up to the larger group and have more of a discussion with our Q&A. I know Bob here was telling me that he has has done a good video in the past as well, and I'm sure there are a number of you who have. Maybe we can just open it up to some questions and get some involvement. Please.
There's kind of a certain culture in academia that you may not want to appear too popular, and you feel like you're being sold a load of goods, that you go on a used car sales and getting up in front and getting up front. How do you handle that?
Good question. Could you hear him in the back? Good. Good. So you're right. I'm in a big audience, and I'm doing a presentation for a group of people that we have to, one, articulate enough to get you over without having speakers and stuff like that. Second of all, we're being a little dramatic here to get you involved. No, clearly you can tone this down and still have all the emphasis. I think that the eye contact and the reaching out still are key, right? That even though you may want to talk in a calmer voice and present your ideas in a way that seems more logical, you can still have the pauses. You can still talk about the important part of the design. You can say that this sprocket right here, or this capacitor right here, or whatever it is the important part of the design, without being so loud and articulate and sounding like a used car. Point. Good thought there.
How long do you spend on a slide? Like, what's the range? Because sometimes you go through, I see people usually like, oh my god, the slides just gone off forever, and then sometimes just like what's in the big time?
Right. So it's a very good question. And around the Silicon Valley, when you're presenting to VCs, they typically say, 20 slides is 20 minutes. Right? That includes the title slide and the thank you slide. So 18 slides is 20 minutes, and that's what they want you to do. They want you to present in 20 minutes. So typically, if you're doing this 4x4 rule and you don't have too many of those complicated slides, you should be roughly about a minute a slide.
Yeah, I have an inevitable comment. One of the things I have preached, and it follows practice, is because these are all intelligent people, to be your colorful self.
Okay.
And it's a matter of practice to get comfortable there.
Yes.
So then you can be who you are.
Yes.
Which are normally passionate, intense people, and rather than have a new personality when you're in front of a group. And I have a question for you. If you have your presentation all in a printout already, and you're going to provide it to the audience, do you suggest providing it before the talk, so they can follow along, or afterwards when you're done?
Could you all hear that? Good. You're right. Apparently your ears are better than mine. Okay. I'm getting this point here. So the question, do we present either ahead of time or afterwards? I've heard both, as I'm sure you have. I prefer just to give them the slides. I can tell you Jerry Weissman doesn't like that. He says don't give them the slides. Don't, make them listen to you. I'm of completely other opinion. Let them take notes. They're going to hear me. They're going to hear me. They're not going to miss my voice. So I prefer to write notes on the slides personally. But again, I disagree with Jerry Weissman there. And he's been doing a lot more of this than I have. So there you have both sides. So Bob and I were talking earlier, and I was telling him about a little story. When I was maybe 2 years out of engineering school and working for a company, we were in this group, and there were probably 10 engineers, 10 of us in this group, and we were asked to present what we've been working on to the president and senior staff and all that. And one of the guys, not me, one of the guys had this incredible presentation, right? It was just, it was all these things. He made the eye contact, he articulated it in a way like you're saying, not in this boisterous way, but in an interesting way. He reached out a little bit, I mean, not a lot, he reached out a little bit. And about 2 weeks later, they wanted to choose a manager for this group. Who do you think they chose? right? The guy who did the presentations. I mean, it really was, I mean, he was a qualified person, but at the same time, it was clear from that presentation that he was managerial material, whatever that means, right? It was clear that he'd been picked out from that one presentation. So presenting with confidence really can be a great thing for your career. One last question, then we'll wrap
I have
it.
a comment and a question. My comment is it helps me feel a lot more confident I'm sure I know more than the audience about this.
Yes.
Pick the right subject or learn a lot about it.
Right.
And my question is, I'm a technologist, not a public speaker. I frequently tell my audience that before I start and ask them if they're with me. Is that a bad idea or is that a way to get them on your side? I always thought I was getting them on my side.
I think that if you, well, let me say it this way. You can become a great speaker, and that's far better than making excuses. And so I'd do it the other way. I'd do that practicing. What was your first comment, though, about?
Just to make sure I know more about the subject.
Oh, yes. So that brings us to the one-back theory. The one-back theory. So there was this company that had a booth at a trade show. It was a small booth at a trade show, and people would come up to you and say the company's name. I haven't heard of you. And they were like, oh, well, we're a small company, we're a startup, you know. And people kind of move on, right? And so they decided to say, look, we're a division of some other company, right? Some other made-up name. And the people would then go, oh, you are? Oh, okay, tell me more about your product. Right? And so it gets this theory that somebody came up with called the one-back theory. And this addresses your point here. That when you're up presenting or talking, you're expected to know one back. That is, any question you ask, I'm expected to know the answer to that question. I may not know them all, but expected to know. Right? Now, having given that answer, you typically will not ask a question about my question. That would be two back. Right? That if you do ask a question about my answer, I can say, well, I don't know that, I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not expected to know. So directly to your point, pick a presentation where you can go one back on just about anything you present, and you'll be very safe in your presentations. And with that, we'll wrap it up, and thank you for coming.